Hello, and welcome to Magic Box Storytime with me, Lottie. Today, we are going to find out what happens in Chapter 2 of The Tale of the Artist in the Snow. Will Arcadia and her team manage to track down Reindeer the Reindeer? Chapter 2, Rolling. Nobody needed the toilet because Iris and her friends had just visited a lovely Lapland cafe which smelt of cinnamon and stewed berries and had used the loo in there, so they set off straight away. As soon as they reached the edge of town, the pavement disappeared, the snow deepened, and it felt much, much colder. Arcadia took a woolly hat out of her duffel bag and put it on. It was orange, with red and yellow pom-poms all over it. "Brrr," she said. "I may be a sensitive artist, but one thing I do know about the snowy wilds of Lapland is they are very, very cold." She stopped and turned round to the little team following her. "We mustn't let frostbite take hold of our artistic fingers," she said. "Let us warm ourselves with some bodily movement." "Oh dear," muttered the one in the red woolly hat. "Here we go." "Shall we start with some star jumps?" said Arcadia. She demonstrated happily, her woolly hat pom-poms bouncing around as she did so, and they all copied her. "Superb," said Arcadia. "And now some brisk running on the spot." "OK," said Red Woolly Hat. "Not as weird as I was expecting." "And now," said Arcadia, "the octopus." "Hang on," said Red Woolly Hat. "It is as weird as I was expecting." Arcadia showed them how to octopus. You may know already, but if not, imagine an octopus doing a Brazilian samba underwater with 8 legs, and then you do the same, but not underwater and with fewer legs, unless you actually have 8 legs, in which case go for it. Even though some of it was weird, star jumping, spot running, and octopusing was really good at warming them all up. "That's better," said Arcadia. "Let's carry on." Her cheeks were bright red, and one of her hat pom-poms had fallen off because of all the bouncing. Red Woolly Hat picked it up, decided to call it Marvin, and kept it in his pocket as a pet. They trudged across the wild land, enjoying the wintry air and scenery. Snow fell gently. The trees caught it in their branches and seemed to send out a lovely snowy glow. And every now and then they saw the tracks of local creatures. Wolf, possibly. Gnome, perhaps. But definitely no reindeer ones. Suddenly, Arcadia stopped, and the ones at the back bumped into the ones at the front, and some people said sorry and some people tutted. Arcadia was pointing straight ahead. "Look," she said, "a huge mountain of snow. Does anyone know how to climb?" "Of course," said Iris. "Fjord camp, remember?" "Fabulous!" cried Arcadia. "Can you show me?" The team said they'd be happy to, and they all traipsed towards the mountain. "How do we start?" said Arcadia. Does she really not know?" whispered Red Woolly Hat to someone else. "Shh," said the someone else. "Be nice." "Well," said Iris, "you just hold on with one hand." "One hand," said Arcadia. "Yes, I see." "Then step up with one foot," said Iris. She was an excellent teacher. "Any foot?" said Arcadia. "Any foot you like," said Iris. Slowly, Arcadia began to climb. "Oh, I'm getting the hang of it," she said. "Oh, it's making me feel poetic." "Uh-oh," said Red Woolly Hat. Arcadia began a little chant she made up on the spot. "Climb, climb, one hand at a time, and then pick up your feet." "Oh, I rather like that," she said. "It helps with the movement." Soon they were all chanting it together, even Red Woolly Hat, because it did help them go higher and higher. "Climb, climb, one hand at a time, and then pick up your feet. Climb, climb, one hand at a time, and then pick up your feet. Climb, climb, one hand at a time, and then pick up your feet." In no time, they were halfway up. "Oh, my word, you impressive creatures," said Arcadia. "Keep going, my darlings. It's rather enjoyable. I must say, I might take it up as a hobby. I am so shut up in my studio usually. I could probably do with some more fresh air." They all agreed that might be a good idea. said Iris. "We've reached the top." One after another, they clambered up onto the summit of the mountain. It was the perfect chance for Arcadia to go all arty again. "Breathtaking!" she gasped, flinging her arms out wide so she looked a bit like a crazy seagull. "Do I have time for a quick sketch?" The rest of them shook their heads. They didn't fancy the idea of hanging around at the top of a freezing cold mountain while their slightly batty leader drew a picture. "Perhaps you're right," said Arcadia. "It would probably just look like a white sheet of paper, what with all the snow." The team nodded. And then something happened, which made them stop nodding and start frowning. "Whoa!" said Arcadia, grabbing hold of Iris. "Why am I rising and falling? And you, and you, and you, and everyone were all rising and falling." She wasn't wrong. They sort of wished she was, but there was no mistaking the fact that they were all moving up and down. Then they realized that the reason for this was that the snowy ground they were standing on was also moving up and down. Arcadia fell onto her hands and knees. "Oh no," she whispered. "I don't think this thing we're on top of is a mountain at all. Be very quiet, darlings. I think what we've done is we've just climbed up the enormous tummy of Skull, the legendary snow giant. The going up and down business is him breathing in and out." "No way," said someone, sounding a bit tearful. "Are you serious?" whispered Red Woolly Hat. He fell into a bad mood all over again. Arcadia gave them a weak smile and waved her hands. "It's fine, dear creatures," she said in a hushed, not ever so fine voice. "No need to panic in any way whatsoever at all. For a start, it looks like he's sleeping, and anyway, he only eats people when he's terribly hungry." Just as she was saying the gree bit of hungry, a peculiar, grumbly, quivery noise reached their ears from beneath their feet. Said Red Woolly Hat. "Oh," said Arcadia. "Did we all hear that?" "Yes," said Iris, "and it sounded exactly like the rumbling tummy of a legendary snow giant." The person who'd sounded a bit tearful before burst into full-on sobbing. Several others started quietly complaining that they had never wanted to end their lives in the belly of a giant. "I was going to be Prime Minister of the world," wailed one. "How can I do that from inside some monster's stomach?" Arcadia waved her hands some more. "Don't panic, my childlings," she cried. "And do be quiet," she hissed. "Also," she continued, "don't run, because our stampeding feet will wake him. We must slip away unnoticed." "How?" asked Iris, doing her best to keep herself together. Arcadia's eyes grew wide and twinkled slightly. "How about we roll down his tummy," she said, "one by one." "Oh, no," said Red Woolly Hat. "No, no," said Arcadia. "It'll be fine. Look, I'll go first. Follow me, darlings, and wish me luck." She rolled, artistically, down the side of the sleeping snow giant. Not the side they'd just climbed up, the other side. "Oh, crumbs," said everyone, watching her bounce down, and then, realizing there was nothing else they could do, one by one, they followed her. It sounds awful, doesn't it? Rolling down the mountainous tummy of a snow giant. But in a strange way, it was quite a lot of fun. Obviously, it would have been better if they'd had their sledges with them, but rolling wasn't that bad, and it did help to warm them up all over again. They piled on top of each other at the bottom. Arcadia had gone first, so she was more at the bottom of the pile than anyone else, and they heard her cry out that she'd broken her best sketching pencil. But eventually they were all on their feet again, more or less in one piece, and feeling quite exhilarated by the thrill of the whole thing. "Right, you courageous angels," said Arcadia. "Are we all undamaged and as gorgeous as we were before? Yes? Oh, joy! Let's dust off the snow and move on." The wilds of Lapland looked wilder than ever, but they marched onwards because they were brave like that. And that is the end of chapter 2. I wonder what will happen in chapter 3. Will they ever find missing Reindeer the reindeer? Please join me next time to find out what does happen in chapter 3, and thank you for taking the time to listen to Magic Box Storytime with me, Lottie. Take care. Bye.